What's up, everybody? How's everyone's Monday? Jeff Ulrich joining a solo show here on the Slate with DraftKings, the show where we talk sports, odds, take a little bit of look through the sporting world, through the DraftKings Sportsbook and the DraftKings DFS lobby. That's what we're going to do today, friends. Coming off the Masters week, can recap that a little bit. Actually, I'm not going to recap that much because there's no odds anymore. The Masters over. Who cares about it? Scottie Scheffler won. He was the favorite. It was amazing. But dive into the RBC. There's one game of NHL. That's the other sport that I have some knowledge of. So we'll dive into that a little bit. We'll take a look at it at the end. Even a draft bet that I like. So NFL draft, maybe I'll pull that up at the end as well. But big thing is, if you're into golf, this is PGA season. There's a lot of big contests up right now for the RBC. We can take a look at it. Here's one, the PGA Tour, $1 million pitch and putt, $20 entry, $250K to first. So lots of big contests still for after Masters week. Yeah, we got those MLB guys doing their MLB stuff, but it's big contests, lots of stuff up for DraftKings as well for PGA. So we're gonna be looking at that, and I appreciate you guys joining me. If you are watching live, throw questions in. I'm not gonna be watching, but my producers are. They all want to know. They all want you to throw questions in, so do it. I'd appreciate it too. Brendan Glasheen off. Who knows what he's doing? Probably doing something professional, like announcing a WNBA game. So I'm going to be taking you through the odds. Let's start with the RBC. Let's start with the odds. Obviously, it's a pretty elite field for the RBC Heritage this week. This is an event that comes right after the Masters every year. And the field is kind of like it's all over the place some years. Some years, there's been a lot of years we just haven't got a lot of top players, but there's a lot of players that are sponsored by RBC on the tour now, and they're all kind of forced to come to this event. Dustin Johnson is one of them. I want to say there's a couple other top players, but I can't remember who they are off the top of my head. But anyways, we have a pretty solid field for the RBC. 25 of the top 50 players in the official world golf rankings are here. Obviously, if we got the screen up right now, you can see Justin Thomas plus 900, the betting favorite. JT, deserving favorite. I think he's got a little bit more experience playing this course than Colin Morikawa. T8 last week. He did finish a little bit higher than Colin Morikawa. He's just been in really good form of late. So Justin Thomas coming in as about a plus 900 favorite right now in the DraftKings Sportsbook. I'll be dead honest. I won't be shocked if Justin Thomas just kind of comes in here and ships this event. Dude hasn't won for over a year now on tour, which is kind of shocking to say. Justin Thomas, obviously like a 14-time winner. I think that's right. 14-time winner on tour. So that's interesting. But you got a lot of guys like Thomas who, coming off the Masters, some of them put in really good performances. Some of the top players didn't. So, we've got a lot of different dudes to choose from. And if you're betting the RBC, one thing I'll say, this is typically an event where we don't see the top players, come through a lot. I mean, we have, winners like Jim Furyk. Stuart Sink won last year at major odds. Even when Webb Simpson won, he went off at around 30-1 that year. So, I mean, Webb Simpson's obviously a quality player, but he wasn't in the top of the betting odds. He wasn't even top 5 of the betting odds that week. We've had other players, Satoshi Kodaira. I don't think that's how you pronounce his name, but it's close enough. He won it at major odds too. So a lot of big odd players, deeper in the betting odds have come through here. Even Brandon, going back to 2016, Brandon Grace was like a 40-1 shot. So it's one of those weeks where, Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, will anyone be super shocked if they win? No. Is it a week where I'm looking necessarily to bet any of Morikawa, Cantlay, Cameron Smith, who's plus 1,600 after hitting it in the forest about 10 times on Sunday? Not really. No. If I was going to bet one, I'd probably just take a piece of Justin Thomas. Like if you're like, I got to bet one of these favorites. I think Justin Thomas is the most set up to win this week. Like I said, this dude is so overdue, but this is just not an event where I really want to bet a plus 900 player at all. The course, the tightness of the course, the sort of technical nature of the track takes away from it takes away the power from the guys who off the tee. We just don't hit driver very much on this course. And that just makes it a short iron and putting game, essentially. A lot smaller greens at Harbour Town. Guys will miss greens in regulation, but the weather doesn't look too bad this week. And I think with the better weather, it's just going to make it a little bit more of a putt fest and probably bring more players into play. So that's kind of how the odds are setting up here off the top. Again, a lot of top players coming in, playing well from the Masters last week. And we can maybe talk about that briefly. I mean, Scottie Scheffler obviously winning 4 times in the first 4 months has kind of thrown maybe a little bit of a curve. But, Cameron Smith has won twice as well. And you've got a lot of players. I mentioned Thomas, but Morikawa, Cantlay, Berger, and even going down to Dustin Johnson here in the odds, who's plus 1,800 this week. And Dustin Johnson, as I mentioned, he is here because he's sponsored by RBC. This is one of the worst tracks setup wise, probably for Dustin Johnson on tour, because he can't really use his driver much, but he's here. And he has like top 20 on this course, mainly because he's a really good golfer. He's going to do that anywhere. But, again, he's winless on the year. So a lot of these top players are looking for wins. I'm just not sure if this is a place where I necessarily want to get on anyone, like even below plus 2,000. So, Masters was cool. It was a bit of a blowout. Rory obviously gave us a little bit of action at the end, but a lot of these top players still searching for that higher gear. And I'm not sure if you're going to see any of them necessarily break through this week. So just when we're diving into the betting odds, if I was going to target someone sort of in this 1,800 to plus 2,000 range, I'd probably be looking to take a shot with Daniel Berger. Plus 1,800 isn't really great, but he's got the same kind of, consistent approach game that we've seen a lot of winners have here in the past. Daniel Berger gains strokes on approach basically every event that he plays, which is really nice because he's really consistent for DFS, doesn't miss many cuts. And when he gets to these shorter tracks, we've seen him dominate. His first 2 wins on tour came at TPC Southwind, another smaller or shorter, not super short venue, but tighter venue with smaller greens, smaller Bermuda greens. And that's kind of the setup we have here. So Daniel Berger, T3 at this event back in 2020. You can certainly get around Hilton Head. I don't think you need to bet Daniel Berger plus 1,800, but if you're saying you got to take someone under plus 2,000 this week, Jeff, that's where I would go. Berger obviously shot like 80 in round 4 last week, but we've seen that's the other thing about this event. And one of the trends that I did throw out on Twitter today, you can follow me at the Fantasy Grind if you're not already. There's been a mixed bag of winners here, man. Like it's not just guys who finished in the top 10 at the Masters. We've had winners here that have done very well at the Masters. Stuart Sink did it last year. He's T12. Then he came in and won. But we've had guys miss the cut at the Masters. We've had guys not even play in the Masters and come and win at the RBC Heritage. So you don't necessarily need to take a guy who played really well last week to win here. I think Daniel Berger, if you're going under plus 2,000, he's got the course history. He's played well, really well at times to start 2020 as well. Was lighting it up through 3.5 rounds at the Honda Classic before he absolutely fell apart. But weather was a factor there. The weather this week doesn't look to be like a huge deal. And I think for Berger, that's probably a good thing. Didn't perform too well in the bad weather at the Honda Classic. So again, not a week where you have to necessarily jump on any one of these favorites, but Daniel Berger certainly standing out. Still really, really strong from a strokes gain approach standpoint and can certainly light it up on these greens with that putter. So let's move down though, because this is where the traditional, the guys who have paid off at the RBC Heritage have come from, like below 2,000 in the betting odds. So my guy here, Russell Henley. Now look, plus 2,200 for Russell Henley. It's probably too short on the DraftKings Sportsbook. He was I think he was T8 here last year. He put in a solid performance here last year. He led the field strokes gain approach, but that's not anything unusual for Russell Henley. That's just what he does. If he can have a decent week around the greens, if he can get caught with the putter a little bit, Russ can certainly grab a win here. Wouldn't shock me in the least bit. He was lighting it up at Augusta. I believe it was on Sunday. He went 5 under to the front 9. So I wish Russell Henley was plus 3,000. I'd absolutely be endorsing him. A plus 2,200, I don't know. Seems very short. I'm sure most people will just, thumb their nose at this price, but I really do feel like Russell Henley's going to grab a win before the end of the year. And this is the type of track where he's probably going to grab a win on. So take that for what it is. I'd like a much better number than this, but he's a player who I think is very live this week. And if we dip into the DFS side, which we will in a sec, I believe it's coming in. I'll do it quickly right now. It's coming in at plus 9,000. So potentially like a good building block there too. Let's look for some bets. So some guys, with a little bit more value, will go down. Tyrrell Hatton is interesting. if you followed Hatton or just followed Twitter, you know that after his round on Sunday, I think he shot like 80 as well. He's dead last. He's dead last for all the guys that made the cut. But he just doesn't like Augusta, and he spoke about it after. And I think a bunch of people got mad at him on Twitter, calling him soft. But you know what? That's what Hatton does, man. He speaks his mind, and it's he's not going to get bothered by it. You can say he has a big mouth. You can say he's just outspoken. You can say he just he tells the truth. I think Hatton's actually got a pretty good demeanor. Could he maybe tone it in a little bit and like stop playing mind games with himself on the course? Probably, but he's won on the PGA before. He's got multiple wins worldwide, and he was playing really well before the Masters. He actually was striking it well through 2 rounds too. He just kind of mentally just checked out on the weekend, and maybe that's not the worst thing because all these other dudes were in contention. You can be a little bit tired. Hatton's just coming in, he basically just took the weekend off. So plus 3,500. If Hatton was top 30, I guarantee you his number would be closer to Corey Connors this week, who's plus 2,500. I'll take Hatton over Connors on this course for the simple reason you need to putt a little, and you need to have a sharper short game, because short game proximity stats, those are the things that really come in at the RBC Heritage at Hilton Head. Connors definitely, from a ball striking perspective, is great, but short game all around, Hatton is just a more complete player. So I think the fact you're getting Hatton at plus 3,500 there, I don't hate it. I don't hate it right off the top. Other names too, like Joaquin Niemann, we've already seen win plus 3,500. He was up there. That seems like a pretty fair number on him, but you can go deeper here as well. I've mentioned some of the winners. We've, obviously Stuart Sink, but we see guys like Kevin Na getting contention here. Webb Simpson, the Webb Simpson prototype type of players, Kevin Kisner. These guys are just pretty solid, like top 10, top 5 bets here as well. And when we're getting in this range, I mean, all these players sort of start to blend in to the same. We got Alex Noren at plus 5,000. Players who's just, very good around the greens. Good putter as well, and his approach game has been taking a step up. So you could think about Noren, who's coming off a rest week too. He's played this event a ton. Nas played okay. He played okay in spurts at the Masters as well. So plus 5,000 for him. You could definitely take a shot at plus 600 for a top 10 there. I definitely don't mind the odds, especially with Kevin Na looking like he's getting plus 600 for a top 10 is actually really nice. Seems to be bigger for some reason, maybe just because of the withdraw factor with Kevin Na. But if you're looking right now and you're looking for a top 10 bet, I'm not sure why Kevin Na is plus 600 compared to a lot of these other players in this range. Just something that sticks out right there. So Kevin Na looking like a nice top 10 bet off the top here on a Monday. As far as favorite players in this range, I got to say my favorite bet right now on DraftKings is going to be Adam Hadwin, though. Dude's first in proximity over the last 24 rounds. He's got 3 top 10s in a row. He's been smashing his irons. And, from the putting and around the green perspective, he's been good. I mean, he's been very solid. He's gained strokes around the green his last 2 starts too. Was in the mix at Valero, a bit of a longer course. I think Hadwin is definitely good value at 6,500. We're talking about all these other players down here. Hadwin's outplayed a lot of these guys. He's outplayed Kokrak. He's outplayed Fleetwood, even just from a results perspective. Not getting much respect in this range. Plus 6,500, that's too big. I think that's just too big. So definitely Adam Hadwin, one of the first guys that kind of stuck out to me Monday morning. And again, this is the kind of range where all these players are in play just because of the course. Again, RBC here, it's short. We don't need to worry about only sort of bombers can have success here, or we have to hit a lot of long irons. I mean, this venue does bring in a lot of players, and so plus 6,500 for Adam just looks too big. I don't mind this guy at the same price either. I think Siwoo Kim. Siwoo didn't play too bad last week either. Kind of like Henley, he had a couple nine hole periods where Siwoo looked like he was almost going to get in contention. Opened with a 76, then rebounded with a really nice 70 on day 2. Siwoo was lost in a playoff here. He dominates Pete Dye tracks. He's won at TPC Stadium. He's won at TPC Sawgrass. So Siwoo Kim at plus 65. He's made 10 cuts in a row. I think if I'm starting off in this range for outright bets, I'm going Siwoo and Adam Hadwin. right off the top. Maybe you can sprinkle in another guy at lower odds. Like you want to sprinkle in a Noren. Maybe you want to go down and take a Hatton or a Neiman. That's fine. But again, for the best value right now, Hadwin and Kim definitely popping the most for me. I think those guys are just underrated compared to what they've done in recent form and on these Pete Dye tracks. So those are going to be two guys I'm very interested in. And you can check out DK Nation. My PJ cheat sheet should be up by now. Siwoo Kim, definitely a player at 8,400. I like for the upside this week. But Adam Hadwin at plus 7,600 on the DFS side too. Sorry, not plus 7,600. At 7,600 on the DFS side on DraftKings. Really, really nice value too. So I'm sure those guys will be a little bit popular. But their odds right now for a Monday just looking too big for me. Go down. Yeah, and like we can keep going down too. I mean, again, Stuart Sink, Kadira. I mean, these are odds. We've seen Luke List here getting the mix at like 100 to 1. This is certainly an event where there's guys at 80 to 1 or bigger. They're going to be live. They're going to be live at this event. And I do not mind taking them at all. So, Brian Harman at plus 1,000. It's a good setup for Brian Harman. Writing about him, he's got multiple top 10s at this event. He's made the cut here in like 5 of his last 6 visits. He gets hot on the greens. Brian Harman is a feisty competitor. Those look like very decent odds. He was in the mix a little bit at the Players. So you can take a shot with him. Kevin Streelman's got a great track record at this event too. 2 guys that stand out right off the top. And, we can even go a little bit deeper if we want. I mean, a guy who was, I'm shocked at these odds, but a guy who was in the mix, not in the mix, a guy who was super chalk 2 weeks ago at Valero. Everyone liked him. People bet him. He was, the DraftKings value darling of the week, and he missed the cut. Is Patton Kizzire plus 18,000. This guy can absolutely spike with the putter. He's gained strokes, over a stroke on approach in 6 straight starts. Both of Kazzire's wins on the PGA Tour have come at similar tracks, Sony Open, OHL Classic. I think it's called the Mayakoba Classic now, but El Chameleon down in Mexico is what the course is called. Similar type of tracks for Patton Kizzire. I think this is if you're looking to take a shot deeper in the odds. I'm actually shocked that he's plus 18,000. I thought he was going to be more closer. I thought I bypassed him. I thought he was closer to plus 10,000. That's where he should be, in my opinion. So I'm liking this outright odds on Kizzire. Plus 1,400 for a top 10 too. That's big. That's juicy right there. So Kizzire definitely a player I'm liking. I wrote him up as a good bounce back candidate for DFS too in the PGA cheat sheet. You can find that up dknation.com as well. That's a player I would definitely be invested in if you can get plus 1,400, which you can right now on the DraftKings Sportsbook. That's a really good top 10 bet because Kizzire is the type of player, if the putter shows up, he doesn't even have to be elite with his irons. He can gain 7 strokes putting. If his irons are okay, he'll top 10 at a course like this. So I think he's very live. And, Davis Riley is there too. And I'm sure people will try and get on Davis Riley. Almost won a couple events ago. I don't hate it, I guess. But you look at the other players in this range, you could think maybe about like a CT Pan or a Lucas Glover. They've played okay, but you're getting bigger odds on Kizzire. And I think he's shown just as good as similar form. So, we're getting some pretty good value here on Monday. I'm not going to lie. Like I really like those odds on Siwoo Kim. I really like those odds on Adam Hadwin and going down like these Kizzire odds, especially for a top 10, looking pretty tasty off the top. And that's kind of a little bit of, the strength of field pushing guys like Kizzire lower in the odds. So you got guys like Justin Thomas here, Morikawa, Cantlay, Smith, all guys who've been hot, coming off good finishes. I just pushes players like Siwoo, Adam Hadwin down further in the odds, but I can't stress it enough, man. This has been an event where we just don't see the top players go off or grab wins. So I would much rather grab like 4 players in that mid range, or even just sprinkle in a bomb or 2 with a guy like Kizzire, maybe a Glover or a Brian Harman, who I definitely don't mind either. Kevin Streelman is actually pretty interesting too. I'd actually lean, we're going to lean Streelman over Harman. Streelman's been playing a little bit better than Harman of late. He's actually got a really nice course history here too. So, if we're going to go deep in the odds, we're going to go over plus 1,000. We're going to go Streelman. We're going to go Patton Kizzire. And like I said, we're going to load up in this mid-range. That's how I'm kind of constructing betting cards for this week. So I'll have more stuff out. We can talk about this on Wednesday edition of the Slate. I assume I'll have a co-host by then. Maybe Emerson or Reed will show up. Maybe Glash will show up. Who knows? Yeah, let's go over the DFS side of it a bit, and then we'll close a little bit of hockey talk, and I'll give you my favorite NFL draft bet that's out right now as well. Take a little seltzer break. If you drink seltzer, you know the goodness of bubbly water. So much better for you than soda too. But yeah, I assume my producer. There you go. I assume my producer got the DFS odds up, or the DFS salaries up here, so we can take it. Again, you got Justin Thomas at 11-1. Right behind him, Dustin Johnson's 10-5, so same price as last week. Cam Smith 10-8, Morikawa at 10-2. I think a lot of people will be looking to take Morikawa, and I'll take Henley out of there for a sec, but you can even start Thomas and Morikawa. And I actually think that's going to be kind of popular this week. Maybe not like super popular because it only leaves you with 7,000, but from a strategy perspective, to kind of be able to stack two players over 10K and still have 7K left in a field like this where there's decent value. I mentioned guys like Kazire down there, but like Russell Knox is down there. There's a guy like Davis Riley, I believe, is like, what is Davis Riley? I think he's like 60. Yeah, he's 7K. I think people will actually do this a lot. I think that you'll see a lot of Thomas Morikawa lineups, because I do think that Morikawa is going to be super popular at 10-2. The way he finished, the fact he's $600 less than Cam Smith. But I also think Justin Thomas will get a lot of love just from the safety perspective of Justin Thomas is playing so good. He's got a little bit more experience factor. And, at 11-1, if you start with Justin Thomas, you can just dip down in this juicy range where all these guys I just mentioned on the sports book, Hadwin, Harmon, Kuchar, Matt Kuchar, 16 of 16 cuts made at RBC Heritage. You can load up on players like that. So I think Justin Thomas will still be uber popular, but the balanced approach lineups, they'll lean Morikawa. So that's kind of where I think the chalk is going to be headed this week. I certainly don't mind starting lineups with Justin Thomas. Not a player I want to fade right now especially at this kind of venue where his irons are just going to make sure that he has like a decent finish. Even if the putter goes cold or he just can't take enough putts, I'd be pretty shocked if Justin Thomas finished outside like the top 25 or even the top 20. So, where are you going to go from a DFS perspective for a little bit of, differentiation? Cam Smith missing a lot of fairways last Sunday. I got to admit, it's got me a little scared. I'd almost lean Dustin Johnson. I know I mentioned off the top, like Dustin Johnson isn't the greatest fit for this track, but there's DJ's beautiful mug. But at the same time, he's played her 3 or 4 times now, and he's a bit more of a veteran. And he's a dude who's searching for a win. Like, he hasn't won in over a year on the PGA Tour either. So I think Dustin's coming in with a little bit more gas, a little bit more fire in the tank, so to speak. Probably looking for that win more than he has other years when he's just seen this as a sponsor's obligation. And if you do look at his course history here, it's not terrible. He actually had the 54-hole lead at this event. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. Now he kind of blew up on Sunday, but Dustin's putted more consistently of late, and he did win at a shorter track a couple years ago at the Travelers at TPC River Highlands. So I think Dustin is probably the play for me. If you're looking to just put together a bit of a different lineup for GPPs, played good for the most part last week. Obviously had that weird triple where he like hit it into the middle of a tree on 11, I think it was. But for the most part, he rebounded really nicely. Made 14 birdies last week. Actually went to, finished T12 without an eagle too. That's pretty good. So Dustin's been rounded into form, and I think as like a contrarian candidate, he makes a lot of sense this week for DFS. So I mentioned, Berger and the players in this range. I'm not sure if you're going to see too heavy ownership. I'm sure Matthew Fitzpatrick and his string of like top 15s will be popular again. You just look down the player card. He's got that one missed cut at the Players, but like everything else just been immaculate. I'm sure he'll still be popular, but you got Berger there. You can go down, take shots with guys like Spieth, Neiman, coming off that kind of disaster weekend. Not sure how popular he'll be. I'm sure my boy Henley's going to be popular again, just because he's always popular and he's a little bit cheaper. But I see a little bit more spread ownership through this range as well. Don't mind this guy either for DFS. Tyrrell Hatton. I think that with the things that Hatton said and people were reading about him, you're probably going to get a really good, nice chance to just get lower ownership on him this week. He was T3 at this event in 2020, made the cut here last year as well. So Hatton and DJ, some names from last week you might be able to buy low on, and I don't mind. So going down, we talked about most of these guys from the sportsbook perspective. You can just see their range. You know, we got Kuchar there. These guys are pretty solid values. I mean, I'm not sure how much I necessarily want to trust Matt Kuchar just yet. I know he's starting to play better. I think from a cash game perspective, you can't really get much safer than Matt Kuchar at the RBC Heritage, so that's fine. From a tournament standpoint, we'll have to see what like ownership projections and how much heat he's kind of getting. That's definitely something you'll want to look into with whatever site you use for ownership projections for Matt Kuchar. If he's starting to get chalky, there's tons of guys you can pivot to here. You know, like a Harman is probably going to garner a little bit lower ownership. Kevin Na, again, a guy who I think sets up really well. And outside of those two missed cuts, he hasn't played that much, but I mean, you know, when Na's playing good, he's playing good. And, you know, his proximity stats aren't bad either. So a lot of playable players in this range. I think it's going to be a popular range. It's going to be a popular build to go with like 210K guys and then build in this range. So, all these guys will probably just suck ownership from each other too, which is kind of nice. I don't think you'll have necessarily one chalky play. Even Hadwin at 76 being the cheapest, his course history isn't as good as Matt Kuchar or like Kevin Na. So that'll probably mean Adam Hadwin maybe isn't even the uber chalk. I do like Hadwin the most out of all these players. If I was going to rank them, I'd probably go Hadwin 1, Kuchar 2nd, Kevin Na 3rd. Maybe this guy, maybe Mito Pereira, the Chilean, who actually won me some money on the Corn Ferry Tour like a year and a half ago. Maybe he's the pivot here, because with all these dudes soaking up ownership, you know, Pereira, maybe even Tom Hoagie or Hoagie, as I think it is, Emerson likes to call him, or maybe it was Jesse. You know, maybe these guys will go a little bit unnoticed. So an interesting range for sure. Definitely Kuchar, Na, Hadwin. I expect those guys to be soaking up ownership. We'll just go down here quickly. I'm going to throw out a few names, and then we'll wrap up with some other sports. We've got Russell Knox coming off that nice opening round at the Valero Texas Open, a 65, and then just cratered. But his approach game's still been good. This is the type of course you want to roster Russell Knox at, so I don't hate that. Eric Van Rooyen, missed cut at the Masters, but been lighting it up with approach as well. So EVR, I think EVR is a good GPP play here. He's just for GPPs, and I don't think you're going to have to, you know, if you're making 10 lineups, if you put him in one, you'll probably be overweight on the field. I think it'll be like a 5% play, but this dude has been lighting it up with his irons of late. And when he gets hot, man, he can absolutely get you like a top 10 finish. So that's another guy I would really consider there for GPPs. Eric Van Rooyen. I can't remember this. I think it's Van Rooyen. I just call him Eric Van Rooyen because that's what he usually does. He ruins your lineup. We got Stuart Sink, last year's winner. We got Figala down here. I like Kazire. I really do. I already mentioned him though on the sports book. Coming off the miscut, everyone's going to be off him. I think he's good for DFS too. And for DFS, like Kazire, that miscut at the Valero was all based. He just had a bad week putting, but Kazire's an elite putter. His approach game's been very consistent late, and you can see 5 made cuts before that miscut. He's actually been pretty consistent, and I'm expecting a bounce back week from him. So, like I said, like him for top 10. I'm definitely going to sprinkle on him if you can find plus 18,000 for Kazire. Those are great odds. So definitely liking him as well. Aaron Wise, another kind of like top end young player you could take a shot with for GPPs. I don't know. I mean, Wise is just a player that I like, but man, you know, really thought he was going to pop at the start of the year. You can see how he was doing in the fall. Thought he was going to hit the ground running, and now he's missed like 4 cuts in his last 7 starts. So I don't really know what to do with Aaron Wise. The smart play with Aaron Wise probably just pretend he doesn't exist at 7,100, but I don't know. Yeah, we got to play upside in GPPs, and Aaron Wise is certainly a player who, like I mentioned with guys like EVR and even a guy like Thigala. When these guys pop, man, they pop for, you know, like top finishes. We've got Thigala here with 2 top 10s already. So lots of playable options down there. I'm not even going to talk about Ricky. You just pretend Ricky doesn't exist. Got Doug Gim down there. Beau Hosler coming off the runner-up finish. He'll probably be popular. I would actually avoid Beau Hosler. Not that I don't like him or anything, but this is more of an approach-based course. If Hosler's putter goes cold, there's just better, iron players down here that I think he can play. So, and especially if Hosler's going to get like 5 to 10% ownership down here, I'd rather go elsewhere. Matthew Neesmith, actually not a bad little GPP play as well. Again, another player, if he gets hot with the irons, you see like T3 at Valspar, T25. So you can think about Matthew Neesmith down there too. I'm not going to go down and hit on every scrub. I'll just throw out one guy down here that I kind of like. If you make an extreme stars and scrubs, Ben Martin, Bermuda Benny. He does well on these short little courses too. Guy was actually finished T3 here. I think it was back in like 2015 or something, but really talented player, been making a bit of a comeback. If you're going down there, that's probably where I would go, but you don't need to do that. So let's go back to the sports book, hit up some hockey really quickly. Only one game on the slate. We got the Jets, we got the Canadians. A lot of money on the over today in this game. I throw out splits on my Twitter feed, again, at the Fantasy Grind. You can follow me there, but almost all the handle on the over for this Jets Canadians game. Getting the under a plus 105. I really don't hate that at all. Canadians offense, not exactly, top 10 in the league. And the Jets are actually without Mark Scheifele tonight, so they could have trouble scoring. I think the under is actually a good bet. My favorite bet, probably a player prop tonight. I don't hate the Jets at minus 125 either. I'll be dead honest. I think that's pretty good value. Jets looking like they're getting a little bit of disrespect here. They're a little shorthanded, but they're still the better team. Let's not confuse things. They also need a win to stay in the playoff hunt. So even a shorthanded Jets team at minus 125, I don't hate. But I like going to the player props tonight. You can think about the under. You can think about the Jets money line. Shots on goal. See if it should still be up here. But yeah, Pierre-Luc Dubois. He's going to be playing more. Again, Mark Scheifele out only means more minutes for Pierre-Luc Dubois. He's kind of a shoot first center anyways. Over 3.5 shots on goal, but you're getting plus 130. So again, I mean, it's a nice return as you can see. So I that's kind of the player prop I was looking. It just looks like a pretty solid value there. Montreal Canadiens give up the second most shots on net per game as well. So it's kind of what I'm looking at for DFS. And I mentioned NFL draft. If you're interested, we're going to have some draft content out. I think it's coming out next week, but let's get to this thing because there is one that I'm pretty interested in already. And we have position totals here for the first round. No, I don't want the under. I want the over. What am I doing? I mean, you could parlay with him with Pierre-Luc Dubois. I don't know. That's actually plus 406. We don't need to do that though. Over 4.5 cornerbacks in the first round taken. Again, like there's a couple dudes who are, automatic, almost top 15, top 10 picks. But there's a plethora of quality cornerbacks here. And I think there's a lot of cornerback needy teams in the back end of this draft. I think you could even see 6 cornerbacks taken in the first round. So over 4.5 cornerbacks first round, the fact we're getting plus money there, I like hopping on this one early. That's my draft bet for Monday, folks. Again, gonna have a lot more golf content coming up Wednesday edition of the slate, but hopefully that gave you a good start. It's one of those events, peeps, for the RPC Heritage. I'm all about kind of that mid-range. You can look at guys in the plus 3,000 range. I mean, if you really like Henley, you could dip down there or whatever. I don't even hate Dustin Johnson, I got to admit, but it's more of an event where you really want to target this juicy middle with those mid-range plays. That's where we've seen a lot of winners come from, or even bigger odds. A guy like this, Patton Kazire. Where'd he go? He's so far down. There he is. That's Pat Perez. I can't even end the show probably. Patton Kazire. Anyways, guys, really appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to wrap it there. Hopefully you guys have a good night at NHL bets if you got those in. Have fun setting lineups early for PGA. My PGA cheat sheet out on the DK Nation right now. You can download the DK Live app. Follow me on Twitter at the Fantasy Grind. All that good stuff. I'll be back Wednesday, probably with Reed. Maybe Emerson will show up. Who knows? Maybe Glass will make an appearance. But Wednesday slate, 5 p.m. Eastern as well, guys. We'll talk more golf. See you then.